All right, let's jump ahead in time. We're going to 2026 to take a look at what's on our plates. And I'll tell you right now, if you're picturing the food you eat today, well, you might want to think again. First things first, I need you to completely forget about those dry, crumbly veggie patties from back in the day. Seriously, erase that image from your mind. The entire game has changed. We have moved so far beyond just simple plant-based replacements. And this really gets to the core of it all. For years, the debate was always so black and white. You either ate meat from an animal or you had a substitute made from plants. But what if the real future, the most exciting future, lies somewhere completely different? And look, this isn't some niche fringe idea anymore. 320,000. That's how many people took part in Veganuary in India alone this year. It's a massive signal that the global demand for better alternatives has officially gone mainstream. People are ready for what's next. The goalposts have completely moved. The mission isn't just about creating a good enough alternative anymore. Nope. The entire industry is now laser-focused on one single, incredibly ambitious goal: making sustainable meat truly indistinguishable from the real thing. We're talking about the taste, the texture, the whole experience, but with just a fraction of the environmental cost. So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? Well, it all comes down to the single biggest trend shaping the food of 2026. This is the one that's finally cracking the code on taste and texture. It's called the hybrid revolution. So what are hybrid products? Simply put, they're a blend of the best new technologies. Just imagine a burger patty where the structure, the protein, comes from plants, but that juicy, savory flavor comes from real animal fat that was grown in a lab, without ever harming an animal. It really is the best of both worlds. And this hybrid approach is taking over for one very simple reason. It solves two huge problems at once. See, a 100% cultivated piece of meat might taste perfect, but it is incredibly expensive to make. Hybrids, on the other hand, give you that same authentic experience, but they use a cost-effective plant base for the structure. They totally deliver on both taste and price. Okay, this all sounds fascinating, but how does it actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the specific technologies that are making this whole hybrid revolution a reality. It really boils down to these three pillars. You've got precision fermentation, which has seriously leveled up. You've got AI being used in ways you would never expect. And you've got these massive leaps forward in creating complex textures. So let's break each one down. First up, AI. Companies are using machine learning to scan these enormous databases of plant proteins. But the AI isn't just looking for flavor. It's actually hunting for molecular structures that can perfectly mimic animal textures. This is how they're figuring out how to recreate that incredible melt and stretch of mozzarella cheese or the fibrous pull of a real steak, all by starting with plants. Next is precision fermentation. You can kind of think of it like programming tiny little microbes, like yeast, to produce very specific things. So instead of beer, they're being engineered to create things like animal-free fats and collagen. And this is the secret sauce. This is what gives a hybrid burger that realistic sizzle in the pan and that juicy bleed that we all know. And finally, texture. We have moved way, way beyond just pressing things into patties. Using tech like 3D printing, companies can now literally build, layer by layer, the complex structure of a whole cut of meat. I mean, we're talking about salmon fillets that have distinct flakes and ribeye steaks with that intricate, beautiful marbling. Now, with all of this incredible progress, you might be wondering, okay, what about the 100% lab-grown, fully cultivated meat? Well, in 2026, it's definitely on firmer footing, but it's really important to have a quick reality check on where things actually stand. So let's look at the scorecard. On the regulatory side, we're seeing real progress. Human consumption is now approved in key markets like the US, Singapore, and Israel. But the biggest roadblock, by far, is still cost. Specifically, this stuff called growth media. It's basically the nutrient-rich food for the cells, is just extremely expensive to produce at a large scale. So to solve this, a lot of the research is now focused on creating more efficient, even genetically engineered, cell lines that can grow faster with less. And just to give you a sense of what scaling up really looks like, we're now seeing companies testing these massive bioreactors. We're talking over 50,000 liters. This is all part of a huge effort to industrialize the process and finally bring that stubborn cost down. The technology is moving forward, for sure,
But that's really only half the story. So how is all this playing out in the real world? Who is actually eating these products, and what's really driving the demand?
The demand is really coming from three key forces. First, there's mainstream acceptance. I mean, when premium hotels like the Hilton and everyday cafes like Chayo's in India start putting these options on the menu, you know it's not a niche product anymore. Second, the marketing has gotten so much smarter. It's less about being vegan and more about transparent, data-driven storytelling, showing you exactly how much CO2 and water you're saving. And finally, localization. Companies are using local crops like mung beans or chickpeas to create dishes that fit perfectly with regional tastes. And all of this leaves us with a final, really fascinating thought. The lines are blurring way faster than any of us could have imagined. The food of 2026 isn't just about new tech. It's challenging our most basic definitions of food itself. Because if a steak can be created without a farm and milk without a cow, what does the word natural even mean in this new hybrid horizon? It's definitely a question worth chewing on.